have a chat.
Yeah, I will say a few words before I play the video. There was a full presentation, something like at least 15 minutes, completely gone. Didn't work at all. Various issues, mostly my computer because of the security from Meta. So I'm sorry about that. What I wanted to tell you about today is actually what are we doing in generating faces which are photorealistic, very similar to what you have seen from Synthesia yesterday. And we are embodying in that way the answers that you will get from the large language models. So the whole idea really is get these embodiments that are so realistic that you can start using this kind of technology in applications such as advising that you can get from the doctors. Things like therapy against the depression, where people would actually not like to talk to real humans, but prefer actually talking to a sentient intelligent, like something which is not real, because they can open more, which is really very interesting finding, right? Things like consumer and customer support. What you get now, you go to Amazon and you have these chatbots and they all always give you the same answers, really not answering your question directly. So these kind of things where again, for the customer support, it's extremely important that you have in fact face-to-face and human support. So we are coming now at that moment where we can in fact have a tech that can support these kind of applications. There are tons of negative applications, we can talk about it later. But what I want also to say for those who are interested in technical details, so we're not the only ones who are doing that. You have seen what Synthesia does. We couldn't get what Victor has showed us yesterday. This is like the latest release, so we never got that. So there was no expressivity there in what was available from Synthesia. Hey Gen is another one, check that one out. Very good, really very good. To that extent that you in fact have some changes in the clothing if people are moving, which is impressive. And then us, okay. All these others, at this point that I'm talking, Victor may actually contradict, so if he's here, please, like, at any point, do contradict. The issue is that we do not use at all diffusion models, which are classical. They're too big for us. We are using GAN-based models. Everything started actually at Imperial in 2017 when my PhD student said to me, okay, if I have a face, static image, and I have an audio, can I actually make this face speak this audio? And I was like, no way, forget about that, you will never succeed. So he proved me wrong, I love that. 6 months later, that's what I gave him. I gave him 6 months because I said to him, like, you will never finish PhD. Like, you can go and do this for 2 years and get nothing, right? So you have 6 months. So he did it within 6 months. And that was our start. So we still use the GAN-based methodologies only now with StyleGAN 3 and so on, and tons of loss functions, billions of loss functions, including this amazing lip reading that we developed a few years ago. You can find it in the Nature paper. We use that to actually get these lip movements really correctly. And we are now on the brink, having it real time on your phone. That's super important for the applications that I'm talking about. Because if you want your doctor on your phone, you are like protected. There is nothing going to the server. Everything stays on your device. So this is extremely important point to take into account. So please, the video that you see the tech. All models are personalized. People move in the way they would usually move.
Hi, everyone. This is a small preview of the latest 9 imitator models using the new architecture. There are also some transition improvements. Hope you like it.
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? And if the wood that the woodchuck chucked was as much as a woodchuck could, Would a woodchuck chuck more wood than you would think a woodchuck should? I think they would.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked?
Imagine an imaginary menagerie manager managing an imaginary menagerie. Sentosa 10 tents, stout saints, 10 tall tents.
Okay? So each and every model is personalized. This is extremely important. All the movements, these are the public figures, so this is the partnership between Meta and these people to get this enough of the video so that we can in fact imitate their naturalistic motion. So there you go, Will, questions.
These are obviously real people. Please sit. So come join me here. So I've by my screen. I've got all my cheat notes here. Otherwise, I couldn't do it. What are those real people giving their faces to you for? I mean, that was Mr. Beast at the top and several other recognizable people.
Yes. So we actually asked them to produce tons of expressions, also to read some things, to, do some, we call it emotional reading, but really, if you read a text that there is no emotion in this text, how you will emote, But we asked them to do also these kind of interviews and so on. And then we use this data to train this model. So this is, in contrast to what you have seen, for example, in Synthesia, they are using, also HeyGen, they're using very short videos to train their models. So we can do that now, but very clearly. If you want somebody to embody completely, to be embodied completely correctly, so that even your wife will not recognize that it's not you, you need a lot of data.
Right.
Okay, and immediately there, I'm telling you, for the deep fakes, it's not a problem for us, as long as we do not throw all of this data in the internet. But on the other side, for these people, like public figures, we have this data.
Right.
And we can, we have a partnership with them, so that's a different story. But if I have enough of data, like from Obama or from Trump or from anybody like that, arguably models could be trained on this kind of data.
Right. No, I was curious. I mean, I keep talking about Mr. Beast, but Mr. Beast is one of the most popular, widely watched YouTubers ever. So I imagine if he could multiply his face, he would make even more videos. Is that something that these partners are interested in?
Yes, they're interested, in fact, in having phone calls with their fans.
Oh.
But not having themselves being on those phone calls. So you want, this is interesting as an idea. It's really entertainment and fun. This gibberish talk, it's just fun for people to watch. And I think this is what they're really interested in, because they can put kind of replies that are very typical for them, because we can train these large language models that we are using. Our llama for each of the personalized models is trained actually on the way these people speak.
Okay.
So that's very important.
Yeah, it's uncanny. I mean, one of the most chilling AI demos I've ever had was when my voice was cloned. I mean,
yes.
And it's in 12 seconds, and it was just me speaking back these words. It's amazing. Just sticking on the positive applications, it's interesting you mentioned in your intro that it's the engagement that you get from talking with a human face. And we've gone through a period where, it became a cliche. You can no longer talk to a human at the end of a phone. It's all sort of, automated bots in call station, in customer service agencies and chatbots, etc. So do you think that's going to come back? They will be automated and AI generated, but it'll be like we're talking to a...
Correct. I think this is something which, in my opinion, is the future. There are so many, it's really, okay, now I'm talking about financial part of the story, but it's an important one.
Yeah.
There are a huge amount of people that are employed in these customer services, but they are answering exactly the same questions each time. So this is very easily automated, and you can ask these people to do something, where we cannot use this kind of technology. So I think this is definitely something that should come. Also, you will stop this line, huge queues that we have, like when you call. Currently, like the mortgages and the banks are the problem because a lot of people are calling.
Yeah, I've been there.
So there are like, you wait for 2 hours. So this is crazy. And if you are like, okay, I don't have time, you put the phone down, that's it. Yeah. Next time you call is another 2 hours, right? So it is really, in some applications, I think this will be extremely useful. I think one of the, and I actually asked yesterday about that, I think one of the super useful applications would be the movies, because there is, Hollywood movies or Bollywood movies, they are in a specific language. So I don't speak Indian or whatever language they use, like Hindu. They have many languages. Okay. So in any case, I don't speak that language, and it will be very interesting, to see some of these movies and have these people like easily, that you don't have to read the, I don't see very well, that you do not have to read the subtitles. Yes. And so on. So like just easily, So that would be really cool because we can clone the voice, we can change that. You have seen it. This is just rubbish talk, right? And like they can move their lips exactly to what has been said.
I mean, they're called their tongue twisters for a reason. You've really got to get your mouth around those
exactly,
words.
Exactly. So this is the whole point. So you can actually do it. You translate, you clone the voice, you make that adjustment of the mouth region so that the mouth moves in the language to which you translate, and you have very well dubbed, movies.
Yeah. Another thing you mentioned, which was fascinating, that people open up more to. I think you were saying that even though it's not a real person, but because you have that sort of human engagement with the social cues, you will open up and share more, which might be useful.
Yes.
in what was the application you were thinking?
So depression is one, we know that for sure, especially suicidal depression. So people don't want to say that. And what the therapists usually try to catch are the expressions which are super fast, and those are the scary or disgusting expressions that are micro and come actually within the natural speech.
Okay.
Or to catch specific way, tonality in the voice, where you can actually predict based on that how bad the situation of the person is. But the moment they are alone, they actually open up. Okay. So if they would know this is not a real person, they could open up. And I think this is very important. So that's one. Second is autism. It's very known that for autistic cats, they prefer, and people, prefer actually robots or AI, which is predictable. Right. So you have to build it in that way, but for as long as it's predictable, they prefer talking to that than to a real human. And the main problem with the real humans is we have all these expressions. And for them, all these expressions is one expression. So they have like, face can make around 10,000 expressions. For them, that's 10,000 categories. For you or any like typically developing human, it's probably like 20 to 30 different categories. For them, it's 10,000, right? So what they do, they avert the gaze and they don't look at our faces. And immediately they cannot catch the cues. With something which is predictable, it's super easy for them. So we only have to build it exactly in that way. So the face should not be that moving around like these guys.
So for some applications, you want the full range of
and
social
for some
cues,
not.
But you can dial it down and have
exactly.
More. That's interesting. I want to come on to the negatives of this, some of the negative applications that you are obviously thinking about. But I mean, one thing that struck me several times now, not least with one reason the presentation didn't work is because the material on the laptop is sort of there's tech on the laptop which is sensitive and Meta doesn't want it for good reason.
Exactly.
Out in the world. And I remember when we had our Zoom call to chat about today, I think my colleague asked if we could record the Zoom call, and you're immediately suspicious. You're like, what are you going to do with my voice? What are you going to do with my face?
No, okay, but you're talking to me, right?
Yeah. You said that. So you only need, like, the length of that, 15-minute Zoom call would have been enough to completely, in theory, sort of replicate you.
Yes, so we tried it out. So currently we can replicate very well people from around 10 minutes of video. When I say very well, that means my husband and my son will definitely know it's not me. But people who know me like superficially may actually know it's me. So I think that this is important to be aware what you are doing with your recordings. And I think that's something I would like to raise a flag today. Just know what you do with your recordings. That's the first step.
Your recordings like of video, of your voice? Yeah.
Faces and voices, right? I also think that for financial services, this is of extreme importance, like having these deep fakes done such that you actually think this is a real human in front of you. It's very easy to do because, as I told you, if I have a static image, I can make it move in a very realistic manner. As a fintech company, you will not know whether this is this person or not, so I can use Mr. Beast model and actually enact you, and still the system will think you are real, right? And so we should be very careful about these things in the sense the financial services should in fact have much stricter way of dealing with multi-biometrics, double verification, triple verification, especially when opening the accounts where you are giving like quite a lot of money.
Yeah. I want to pick that up in a second, but just put your hand up in the room if you have a question, and a mic will come to you. But yeah, on that, banks need to change the way they do verification. I mean, you're not the first person on this stage to say that. I mean, yesterday we were told that Voice ID should be thrown out because that's no longer reliable. And you're saying that even much more.
It must be multi-biometric. This is the main thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So what sort of technological solutions are there? Are there like detectors that we can use?
So usually, if you have the tech, which is extremely good for deepfake production, this is like the same coin, only two sides. So you usually have a tech that is extremely good for deepfake detection. So in principle, development, people always say to me like, oh, development of deepfakes is going so far away, how you will detect that? But it's always the same side. Right. So currently with Imperial, my team still holds the state-of-the-art deepfake detection, and it's exactly the one that we are using to produce now, these deepfakes. And it's based on the lip reading. So lip reading is super important. The way, like, accent comes through lip reading. The words, that's number one, like content and the words. But the accent, the difference between males and females, the difference in cultures, all comes through lip reading. So it's really, really interesting.
That's interesting. So who has a mic already?
Hi there.
Sorry. You were standing. I'll come to you second. You first, please.
Hi there. My name is Dominique Shamley. I'm a student over at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine doing a doctorate in public health. As I listen to you describe some of the applications, I have many questions. One is that we are in a landscape of growing cybersecurity concerns. So one is like, what are this? How do you ensure that the collection of the data is actually secure? How do you ensure that it is controlled? How do you ensure that the uses for this are controlled? That's the first question. And the second question is, what are the ethical considerations underway about substituting technology for human interactions in crisis interventions?
Yeah. Okay, so for the data and collection of the data, this is why I always argue that it is super important to have it on device, because at least you then control this device. There is nothing, and you have to make sure, and this is some of the information that everybody should be given, what is happening with your data? Does it leave your device? If it doesn't leave your device, actually you are then pretty safe, right? If it leaves it in any way, please explain in which way and what you're gonna do with this, right? So those are the things which we as human beings need to know about the privacy and data sharing and dual use and so on. So it depends which data leaves your device. If this data is not your biometric cues or anything in terms of the patterns of behavior, which is in fact another biometric cue, you are good, On the ethical point of view, I think it is really important to understand the uses. For as long as the uses are to the benefit of human beings and to the, a lot of people say, okay, you will replace some of the workforce, and that's like one of the major ethical concerns. I always say yes, but there are things that you can do with the technology that you cannot do with humans. One of the things is, for example, depression and dementia detection. In fact, it's the same as X-ray. We, with our eyes, cannot do X-ray. We have a machine for that. It's very similar here. AI, currently, this part where we are actually tracking the movements of the face is much better and much accurate and much more fast than human eye. Human eye can process around 12 frames per second. Any of the algorithms for face analysis can process 30 to 60 frames per second. So you can catch a lot of things. So it's really important that we actually understand for what we are using, whether this is helping people, and secondly, if we are taking something from humans, like, some jobs, like what I said about customer services and so on, it's very important that the companies then help these people, re-educate and do something else. So that's my answer to that. But I don't think we should stop development of the tech because of that. There is this gentleman who really tried to ask the question.
Yes, I'm going to him now. Go ahead.
A few times.
I'll give it a damn good shot. Adam Smith, Thomson Reuters. When you were making the AI avatars, you said you were in a paid partnership with the creators that you used for the training data in order to build the AI. Does that mean, in your opinion, that if copyrighted content is used in a data set to train an AI, that those people deserve compensation?
Oh, yeah. That was very short, right? But yes, and I really think it's important. This is what I also said yesterday to Mate from Paramount. It's important, and they do that, to protect your data if you are a human being, or data of your company if this data belongs to your company. And if other companies want to use this data, they have to compensate you for the usage of the data, of course.
Just sort of a follow-up on that then. How do you sort of contend with so many companies that are building AI software refusing to release or talk about any amount of training data that they have put out?
Yeah, I think this is why we have these standards and regulations, and I think it's actually one of the parts of the regulations that should be there. If they're not there, we should actually disclose, and I think Meta is really very good in that, to disclose exactly which data has been used. This is, of course, after, you can imagine, Cambridge Analytica, that all of this came to Meta as extreme must. You have to say, for each and every model, what is the data that you have used to train this model. So I think, I would say this should be done for all companies. And if there is no such regulation within the company, then we should have something like British Standards Institute who would do that. Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. In the front here, this will be our last one, and if you can keep it quick.
Sure. Hi, Robert Hooker from BT. One concern I have from a social perspective is people with neurodiversity. So as companies and governments start to use this facial emotional recognition software in education, in social situations, how do your models compensate with the fact that people with neurodiversity have a completely different emotional palette of expression?
So this is very important. I said that yesterday. I don't know if you were in the room. I do not believe in general AI. I don't. I don't believe in general solutions at all. So everything what I preach always is that you have to know your application, and you will build it for that application based on the data that is suitable for that application. So I cannot train, for example, a system that would help, I'll just put an example, Chinese kids, and train it on Caucasians. It will just not work, because they have completely different expressions than Caucasians. Similarly, if you train a system for the autistic kids, you cannot train it on the data that is taken from typically developing kids. Just simple as that. So it's extremely important that you are aware what your application is. And you will have, yes, the tech, the models are the same, probably, most probably, but the data on which you train will be very different. So it is the same what we said. If I use these kind of things for the autistic kids to help them and actually learn them about expression and so on, then we will train it in a completely different manner so that they actually enjoy it and not that I enjoy it. So please, this is one of the, okay, let me say that. A lot of people in many companies, you will hear them talk, I don't like it. No, we don't build the apps for ourselves. We build it for people. So it's extremely important to know what people want and what is the part of the population that we are, targeting.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions. That's what we have time for. That was a great note to end on. Thank you.